Biff responses. So teaching them to respond to hostile emails and texts can be one of the most helpful things that you do. So much of today's communication is faster because it's by email and text, and lacks, written communication's only about 10% of communication. So it lacks all of the calming things of a smiling face or body language when you're communicating with someone. Anyway, this is a method that I developed, 16 years ago. And we teach it in the workplace for high conflict situations. We teach it high conflict divorce, neighbor disputes, social clubs, etc. And so this is one way to calm a conversation that starts out hostile from a high conflict person often. So first is keep it brief, just a paragraph, doesn't need to be more than that. And I'm teaching this to you for your own use professionally and to teach your clients, because this will help them have more confidence. And I know when we ended right before lunch, people were saying, oh my goodness, this is kind of worrisome when I'm making people feel less secure. And so that's good. Now you're hungry for tools. But my goal is to help you feel more secure in dealing with these folks and having structures for dealing with them. So ear statements is one of the big ones. Biff responses is another of the big ones. Making proposals depends on the situation, may be calming and help with that. But Biff is not that hard to do, but it does take some practice. So first is a paragraph, 4 to 6 sentences is usually sufficient. And it doesn't escalate a back and forth. So you get an angry email and a paragraph response. Not just a single word response, that's too brief and that incites more conflict. Informative. It's focusing on left brain information, not right brain arguments, opinions, emotions, defending yourself, which escalates the high conflict. But just straight information, who, what, when, and where type of information in your paragraph response that relates to the issue that's been raised, often calms things, and you may not get a further response after that. I've helped people craft Biff responses, and often the sign of success is the person that's harassing them stops harassing them. So they often just don't hear back. Friendly. Has a friendly greeting, something friendly in it, maybe even an ear statement in it. But doesn't have to be super friendly, but it needs a touch of friendliness, especially at the beginning. Then firm. You want it to end a hostile conversation. And so this is, like I said, if it's done well, you often don't get a response because you've finished the conversation. Or you may have a question that needs an answer, and so you ask for a reply by a certain date and time. And that should be helpful. Let me see, I've got a question here. How do you handle a highly emotional patient who reports her partner keeps undermining parenting agreement? Partner is an FBI agent. Oh my goodness. So I've had things like this, and this is a good time to talk about, let's look at your options. So is this someone to confront directly? Is this someone to address indirectly? Is there someone who could help you? Is there someone that the partner respects? And ultimately, going back to court may be necessary if a parenting agreement's really getting sabotaged. I find that a lot of people are too afraid to go to court especially with high conflict people, because they know it's going to escalate things. But I've had many cases where court de-escalated things because the answers were clear cut. And so don't necessarily be afraid to go to court to enforce parenting agreements or revise them. And often the courts don't want to punish people, put them in contempt, make them pay a fine or go to jail, but they will change the custody plan. So don't be afraid to do that if that's the situation. It's always good to try to settle and negotiate first, but it's not unusual that we have, say, law enforcement is a problem in some of the most high conflict divorces. And they have a mix of traits, perhaps. They may have some antisocial break the rules tapes, but they know how to get around them. And they may have some narcissistic traits that, I'm superior to you, I'm superior to the court order. Biff responses may be helpful in these situations, but I would consult with a lawyer and say, what are my options at this point? And threatening, here's an interesting thing. I'll just talk briefly about this. But negotiating with high conflict people, you want to know how far you're willing to go and then ask for what you want. And so you have some room in there. And don't go past how far you're willing to go. In fact, be reluctant if you're getting close to that. You want to appear confident and not in a rush or afraid, because those feed bullies, those feed high conflict people. They get energy from you appearing frustrated and upset and weak. And so you teach your clients this, you may need it yourself in dealing with other people who are high conflict personalities who have that. Firm, have it end the conversation, or ask for a reply by a certain date. Please let me know by Thursday at 5 o'clock. That way you know that if there's no response by then you're probably not going to get a response by then. You could send one reminder and then figure out what you'll do different with the information you have, since you're not getting it from the other person. Now, I wanted to give you some examples of Biff responses. Where'd they go? Oh, first, let me talk about coaching clients. And I really encourage you to teach clients this, because this gives them so much confidence. It really helps. They're getting a mudslinging email coming in, and what they send out is brief, informative, friendly, and firm. I have lawyers sometimes sending me their clients' emails to show me, see how reasonable my client was in response to this jerk. And they're proud of their responses because they don't get down in the mud with the other person.